Hello everyone, and thanks for joining today's Channel Vision Q&A featuring Snom. This is Channel Vision editor Gerald Baldino here, and today we're with Snom Commercial Phones product manager Ian Mitchell, Sales Engineer Simon Bradbrook, and Snom's newest team member Chris Tritton, who comes over from Panasonic and will be involved with the DECT strategy and carrier sales. So a big welcome to Chris. Today we're going to be talking about Snom's DECT solutions, and we're going to shake things up a bit, bypassing the slideshow and jumping right into the Q&A. Our goal is to provide an engaging question and answer session, giving you more time to interact with our presenters and answer any questions you have. You can submit questions at any time through the portal located at the bottom of the Zoom platform. So let's kick things off here with a question. Simon, what is DECT?
Hi, Gerald. Yeah, DECT. Okay, so it's a wireless standard that's been specifically designed for voice. So it's met all the standards laid out by the ITU, radio communications. And as I said, it's built specifically for voice. One simplistic way to look at it is it's done for voice what Wi-Fi has done for the internet.
Fantastic. And what differentiates DECT from other wireless technologies like Bluetooth?
So the big thing is because it was developed specifically for telecommunications, we made sure, or not we, but DECT does not interfere with other forms of wireless communication like Wi-Fi and like Bluetooth. And if we look at something specifically like Bluetooth, a lot of people are using with headsets and stuff. The other thing that DECT does for you is it gives you a much larger range. So you can get between 300 to 500 to 900 feet. And then if you're in a multi-cell environment, you can even go much larger with that. Whereas something like Bluetooth is going to be more personal level of range.
Got it. Now, there's a lot of potential here with DECT, right? What do you believe is the greatest potential offering that DECT can provide?
There are many different answers to that question. It's truly very specific to what the customer is requiring. But you said it correctly. There are many different advantages and potential benefits to what DECT can provide. If I had to narrow it down to one or two, speaking to the reseller community, the one biggest thing I would have to lay out there is a differentiator. As competitive as your business is right now, you're looking for differentiating factors between you and your competition. They are not selling DECT, and they're not selling it. If they are selling it, they're not selling it effectively. And by asking some specific questions and getting the customers to understand what DECT can do for them is going to greatly enhance your ability to win some business. But in addition to that, it's just a tremendous technology. It's secure wireless technology, a reliable wireless technology. And there is tremendous cost savings by implementing DECT as well. At some point in time, we can have another one of these presentations eventually, and we can talk about the cost savings in which we can bring one trunk into the facility through the base station. The base station can handle all the additional handsets, and we can take what's a four trunk solution down to one and save the customer a tremendous amount of money. So those are the biggest differentiators in my mind: the ability to help the customers and provide the solutions that help benefit them.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Now, there's a lot of attention right now on the workspace, right? As companies are going back to offices, experimenting with hybrid models, a lot of changes going on. Why is DECT important to the future workspace?
The workspace today, much like the rest of society, is mobile. It's become a mobile environment. And more mobile requirements are required from employers and technology. Cell phones can take it so far, but when you need interaction with a PBX and a call control, you have to go back to a DECT type solution or a Wi-Fi solution. And we can talk about the benefits of DECT over Wi-Fi again as well. But because the workplace is become so mobile, it allows the employees to work around, work throughout the workspace, whether it's a warehouse, meeting rooms, a DECT conference phone in the conference room, those types of environments. So it just allows the flexibility for the customers or the employees to work, and which makes them most effective.
So it really enables a safer environment, right, with more social distancing, and gives employees the freedom to kind of move around as they need to.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. Now, what are some of the current and future office trends that you think will dictate the need for these technologies looking ahead?
I think I'll take that one. So basically, you just touched on it a little bit there with Chris. So if you look at it post-pandemic and offices start to open up, you're going to see a very drastically different workplace. And I think the DECT technology allows that to happen. It allows the office space to become more fluid. You know, unlike the traditional office where you were tied to a desk phone wired in, with a DECT solution, it allows you to spread that office out, so you're not all sitting on top of each other like you might have used to have been. And it just gives that more flexibility there to, like, you know, chop and change that workspace where people are actually actually doing their space that they're sitting in to do their work. It allows that space to become more fluid and more mobile. So it's like, you know, as we've all found out just recently, one day you might be in the office, the next day you might be in your kitchen. DECT gives you that flexibility that you just didn't have before.
Got it. Got it. Thank you, Simon. Now, if I'm a partner here, looking at the opportunity at hand, where should I be looking? Can you give us an example of some of the main verticals where this technology will dominate?
Yeah, well, of course, some really great ones is, a small office space, or especially like little retail outlets. So if you're looking at something like, an auto body shop, you've got people that are like underneath cars, they're kind of constantly getting parts and stuff like that. And so DECT is a really good solution for that, because it gives them that mobility. They can just have it clipped to their, shirt pocket or something like that while they're working on something. Or if you look at, a small like UPS store, again, people are constantly between the front and the back, pizza shops. And then also any place with like a small warehouse or even a large warehouse, right? I mean, you've got something like a big box retail store, like a Home Depot. I mean, there's constantly people that need to be moving around, and DECT gives them that flexibility. And the other benefit is also the ease of provisioning, right? Because the provisioning is all happening at the bases. So in those environments where you might have phones that, get damaged or whatever, you're talking about just taking a new one out of a box and basically just registering it to the base through, like, 2 or 3 button presses, and that phone is back up and running again. You don't have to worry about actually, shipping another full phone product and having to, register the MAC address and re-provision it. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ian. Now, one of the selling points here is business acceleration, right? When you're talking to customers, tell me a little bit about how DECT can accelerate a business.
Well, I think cost is the big one there. If you look at the infrastructure costs of a typical telco solution, and then you compare that to DECT, the costs are just nowhere near as substantial with the DECT offering. I mean, number one, you've got no wiring that's actually going to the desk, and cable runs are pretty expensive. I mean, with a DECT solution, you've got a handset or a desk set that's basically syncing back to a centralized base station. When you're looking at, another example of that would be like a small startup company. Money's tight. They need to get going. They've got this great idea that they want to launch, but they want to save some money. So it's a good, cheap, simple solution, but reliable solution. So again, you go back to that you're not jumping onto a Wi-Fi network that you could have interference on. This is a network that's built specifically for a voice device. So it just those costs, it drives that bottom line a lot lower.
Okay, great. And now, everyone loves case studies, right? Can you give me a couple examples of maybe a business that installed DECT and experienced some improvements or efficiency improvements?
Absolutely. And going back to the cost savings as well, last year we installed, it was a 500 location chain restaurant across the US. Now, previous to the Snom solution going in there, they basically had 4 POTS lines going into each location. So they were paying in excess of $150 a month just for the POTS lines. We went in there and basically it's one hosted account that came down. And they had 3 handsets inside the location. So as a base station, it was 3 handsets, which came to a total of $400. They were saving over $800,000 a year in infrastructure costs just because we've taken out those 4 POTS lines. And the offer that they have with the service provider basically reduced those overall costs. So $800,000 a year is an awful lot of money. And the other thing about that is the solution that we sold them, it's basically an old-fashioned key system. So as calls come in, all the handsets immediately alert. And it's a case of like one of the members of staff can pick the phone up, and instead of having to train the staff how to do call park retrieve, it's simply a case of placing the call on hold and then telling your colleague to pick up line 1 or line 2. So that was one great success we had. We've just had another success this year with a big coffee and bagel chain across the Northeast, and the same kind of solution again, and the same savings again. You know, they had multiple POTS lines coming in, whereas now they've got the one hosted account coming in, and they've got this very easy, simple solution for the staff to use. No training for the staff, because obviously with restaurant and retail, it's a high turnover of staff. You don't want to have to keep going back and training them. And these solutions basically give you that option.
Now, is DECT appropriate for all businesses?
I'll jump in on this one. It definitely is. It definitely is. In fact, I think it's probably more appropriate than many people designing solutions give it credit for. A lot of times there's a DECT requirement or need addressed or even brought up. But beyond that, especially when you consider, the mobile workforce we talked about earlier, the work from home environments. I'll use my home office as an example. I have a 20-year-old house, but I don't have a Cat 5 in my office. So to bring a wired device into my house, I have to install some cabling. The alternative to that is simply put a DECT base station, and you can put some DECT handsets really, again, wherever throughout the house then as well. But the ability to take advantage of the cloud unified communications without the infrastructure in place, wire cabling in place, and really taking advantage of that. So there's a lot of areas within the business's solution that could benefit from DECT. And more times than not, it's really just asking a question. How many wireless handsets do you need? How can we address your warehouse? How can we address your mobile workforce within your building? So it's absolutely appropriate, and I think sometimes expanding our question base, we can even find out how appropriate it truly is.
All right. For those of you who might have just joined here, we're talking with Snom about their DECT products. Just a reminder, you can submit questions right through the bottom of the Zoom platform at any time. So ask away by all means. Let's jump into the channel opportunity here. What is the channel opportunity? Are partners having success selling right now? What is the market like?
It truly are. There are some verticals that are literally blowing up right now. Simon did mention some national retail restaurant chains that we're working with. And we can take that to the extreme. There's a very, very large number of opportunity within those verticals. The medical industry, hospitals, clinics, assisted living. There's a very large segment of vertical solutions that this is a perfect solution for. And then beyond that, to simplify, any business out there could benefit from a solution. Again, talking about infrastructure, and from an implementation standpoint, the cost of installing and having to recable and provision traditional handsets is getting more and more expensive and more complex. The ability to walk into the DECT solution simplifies the entire solution, simplifies the installation, and ultimately makes customers more happy and satisfied with their overall purchase.
Now, one question that a lot of people seem to be having right now is, as we move into the next phase of the pandemic, is timing, right? Can you talk about the window of opportunity at hand? Is time running out to sell DECT, as businesses continue to spend?
I don't believe at all that when the window is expiring. And if anything, I think it's gaining momentum. And over the near future, from us, you're going to see things such as wireless office in a box solutions, other additional wireless technology that we're going to bring to the table that's going to enhance and further enhance the DECT offering and what we can do for customers and solutions that we can satisfy for customers.
Fantastic. So businesses are spending money on DECT. That's the message right now. It seems the opportunity is going to continue, and there's money out there.
And if I could add to that, exactly, you're exactly correct. The business will continue. The money is out there, and it's not running out. In fact, it's growing. It's expanding.
And now, do businesses still want physical handsets? You know, with all the talk about digital transformation, is there still demand for these products?
Oh, definitely. I think so. I mean, you get into some, the some people might focus on like the large enterprise space where, yeah, you have a lot of people that are kind of maybe switching to, calls to their PC and stuff like that. But I mean, there's still millions of small businesses out there, medium-sized businesses that require, that hands-on feel. People need to be running between locations, and they're not always going to be at a PC. And this applies, again, both to like a retail place, like the pizza shop environment, or even the small businesses. So I think there's always going to be a need for the physical handsets. There's just too many, different options out there where somebody's not going to always be at a PC in front of them.
So excellent. So demand will continue, and the products basically aren't going anywhere. That's great to hear. Do you have any, for sales partners who might be new to this space? Do you have any tips for starting a conversation about DECT and warming up the customer a bit?
I think for me, it's quite simple in many respects, but the simplest of all is really, how many wireless phones do you require? Do you have a warehouse? Do you have warehouse workers? How mobile is your workforce? The questions differ dependent upon who you're asking and what type of business they are. But just simply asking the question, how many wireless handsets do you need, opens up that entire realm of conversation. And then the other technology that's built into the base station and our keyline emulation product and others, in which you can simply ask some questions about how they enjoy having their calls handled, what requirements they have as far as line mapping, BLF, those types of things, because those are all technology now that we have built into our base station and on our handsets, on our DECT handsets, that our competition just simply doesn't have. And again, if you're looking for differentiation between us and our competition, that's where that secret lies. So the ability to have that conversation really is understanding what customer you're talking to, understanding what their requirements are, and then just simply asking some questions that help solve their problems.
Excellent, excellent, and thank you for mentioning some of the differentiators there. I know someone was just asking about that. Let's in the next phase here kind of transition a little bit and go into Snom a little bit more and about the company. Tell us, for those who might not be familiar, who is Snom? Where are you based? What are you about, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so Snom, we've been in the SIP industry basically since the inception. We had one of the very first SIP phones ever created, quite a few years ago, and we've been refining our SIP stack, over the years. And we were started over in Berlin, and we've got offices basically all throughout the world at this point. And a couple of years ago, we were actually acquired by VTech. And of course, VTech, we have our own manufacturing facility. And of course, we've got the DECT infrastructure. So like Snom started the SIP phones, and VTech, we basically started at the infancy of DECT, and we've been building that technology. So it's been this really great pairing because we took the foundation of what we had. We're now bringing in our own manufacturing into it. We've also increased our global presence because, of course, now with the two companies, we're all throughout the world. We've got our own manufacturing, and because we started the DECT as well, we can really accelerate and bring even better products out to the market quicker.
Fantastic. And what is Snom currently working on? And another question there too: why is DECT integral to your overall mission right now?
Well, as we have all been kind of talking about, right, that mobility and the flexibility of moving around the office space, we just see that as something that's not necessarily going away. The flexibility in cost, the flexibility in actual location, the flexibility in the deployment and how replacements happen and stuff. And DECT really helps all those things. So, as we look forward to the future, we're of course always looking for new products that can basically make that easier, both for the partner and then also easier for the end user. So, we're working on solutions to help bring a more full phone system solution in the DECT space out to the consumer. So it's not necessarily like just handsets or just a conference phone. So we do have some stuff that that we're working on that we'll have out sometime soon, and we'll be able to share more information in a few months, hopefully.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ian. And Chris, a question for you. What is currently motivating Snom Innovations? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, we're constantly evaluating and meeting with and advising, getting it advised from our carrier service provider partners on what the customers are asking for, what the market is requiring. And that's what's driving our innovations. As we know, technology is constantly evolving, constantly changing, constantly growing. And we're trying to understand where that growth is going and stay ahead of it. So we're going to, we've used that in the past and we're going to use that in the future. Things such as our keyline emulation product I talked about earlier is a perfect example of what carriers are telling us. They're saying, we have a segment of our customer base that will not migrate to the cloud because they will not give up their key systems. Well, if we're able to integrate that into the cloud now, that takes away that objection. It opens up an entirely new customer base that you can go after as a carrier. We've had customers ask us, can you grow your base station capacity so we can service more of a campus environment, whether it's a university or a hospital or whatever the case may be. So we've developed products now that are multi-cell, so you can have many different base stations that hand off to each other and cover a larger geographic area with more handset capability as well. So understanding what the customers are asking for us, understanding what the industry is requiring is really what we use to help determine where our technology goes and how we drive it.
And Simon, wondering if you could expand on that a little bit, talk about timing and why you feel this is especially important right now, and why now is a great time to get involved with Snom.
No, absolutely. I think we've actually discussed a lot of these points already, because if you look back over the past 15 months, everything that's gone on, we've seen the workspace change completely. And this is why I think everything we've talked about today is so important and so relevant right now, because it allows, again, we're going to talk about the flexibility of the workspace, because the protocol brings that and the products bring that. And that's the important thing. That's the big challenge to us, because that work environment is now going to constantly keep changing. And you need that backbone solution in there that's going to be able to move with the times.
The times, which are just constantly changing and constantly evolving, right?
Yes,
I mean,
that's
who
right.
knows
Thank
what tomorrow's
you
going to
very
bring?
Yeah. No, that's right. Thank you very much, Bob Dylan.
So I'm just going to leave it open for a minute. If there's any last minute questions, this is your time where you have Ian, Simon, and Chris here. It's been a great conversation. Really enjoyed chatting with you today. I think the products really speak for themselves. To reiterate, now is the time to get involved, right? How can we learn more information about Snom and get involved?
Well, of course, we do have our website. You can go to snomamericas.com to learn about the products. We also have a very extensive wiki on service.snom.com, and that can, if you need to get into the nuts and bolts of how the things work, how provisioning works, or the configuration files or exact product features, that's a great resource. And of course, we have a large sales team here in the Americas with Chris and some others. So you can always reach out to them, and all the contact information will be on snomamericas.com.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know the company does a really good job of educating partners and providing as much information as you need to really get out there and start selling, right? So that's good. All right. Well, I think that should probably wrap up today's Q&A session. Big thank you to our presenters here, to the whole team over at Snom, and of course, all of you for attending. Head over to channelvisionmag.com to access this on demand, and stay tuned for a follow-up email from Channel Vision with a link to the presentation. Thanks again. We'll see you all next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.